KPIX 5 breaking news.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Martin in the KPIX 5 newsroom. We are getting reports of a moderate earthquake. You'd have to call this moderate at 4.4 magnitude. This quake hit just about 5 or 6 minutes ago, possibly 10, but this is in the Black Hawk area in the East Bay, Far East Bay. We are also told that it was felt as far away as Menlo Park, at least that's the reports that we have right now, and the city of San Francisco as well, and of course Livermore, which is not that far from Black Hawk. But again, this moderate quake striking at about 1:10, 1:12 this afternoon. 4.4. No reports of any damage or injuries at this point, but it's still pretty soon. But a 4.4 quake that our Juliet Goodrich, who is in the East Bay, called us and said she definitely felt the shaking. A lot of people feeling it, of course, around Livermore and Black Hawk, but as far away as San Francisco and Menlo Park, where the USGS is. I'm sure we'll be getting a lot more information from them in the coming minutes here. But this is the first reports we're getting of some moderate shaking in the East Bay. 4.4 quake centered in Black Hawk, but again, no reports of any damage or injuries, and we'll be sure and get you any more information as soon as we get it. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have on the phone Melissa Miller, who is in Pleasant Hill. Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, how are you?
I'm a little shaken.
You're okay. Well, that's understandable. The nerves.
Understandable. Yeah, it's been a while since I felt an earthquake, but that was definitely an earthquake.
Well, can you describe the feeling, because earthquakes do feel different?
They do. Well, I noticed that the lamps on my table were shaking, and then my cat was going a little crazy, and then it kind of roll jerk kind of thing that we feel when we have earthquakes out here. And, you know, it lasted about a second, but that's long enough. You know,
it got your attention.
Yes, it certainly did. I was sitting here just watching TV, and all of a sudden I hear shaking and rattling, and I went, well, okay, this must be an earthquake, you know. I've lived here 44 years, so I'm used to them, but it's still unnerving. It's just very unnerving.
Well, you said it had been a while since you felt one. Do you know, can you remember back when you felt one this strong? We're being told it's a 4.2 now. They're downgrading.
Well, that's strong enough. I'm trying to think, probably 10 years ago that I felt one like that. Yeah, and I live at Pleasant Hill, which is not that far from Black Hawk, so yes, it was definitely an earthquake. And when you hear the lamps rattling on your table, you know it's not your cat walking by. So, yeah, I don't, you know, I've lived here for so long, and it still freaks me out.
Nothing broken, nothing fell?
Nothing broken, just me shaken up. You know?
Well, you and the cat, that's enough. That's all we need.
Yes.
They'll determine whether this is any kind of a foreshock. We hope not, but 4.2.
I certainly hope not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unnerving every time we have one. I don't know. I don't care how many times you've had an earthquake. It's still unnerving.
Have you had a chance? I know this is very recent. Have you had a chance to talk to neighbors, get out there and see if anybody else?
No, because everybody is either at work or I'm not at work. But you know, it's just, and it's okay. You know, there are people working next door, and I was going to go out in the balcony and say, you know, we just had an earthquake, but I think they knew it too. You know, I don't know. It's just very scary. I don't like them. And I know I live in California, but I still don't like earthquakes, you know.
Well, still, given what's happened in Southern California recently,
yes,
we have to take note and be prepared. Are you prepared? Do you have your earthquake kit?
I do, as a matter of fact, yes. You know, and unfortunately, I will never have to use it, but, you know.
We hope not. We hope better to be prepared and not need it.
Yes.
All right. Melissa, thank you very much.
You're
I appreciate it. Okay, I think we have also on the phone Sarah. Sarah, are you with me?
I am.
Hi, where are you?
I live in Fremont.
Fremont, okay, that's quite a ways from Black Hawk. Tell me, you felt it though?
Oh yeah, I felt it really strong. It was, the building was kind of rolling and it kept going. It didn't just stop, you know, it was a longer one than I've experienced in a while.
Well, Melissa was saying she didn't think it lasted that long for her in Pleasant Hill, but for you in Fremont, you're saying it did seem to last a while?
Yes, it did. I was thinking, I wonder if it's going to stop.
That's long enough to, yeah, that's quite a while. And
Yeah.
for you, how did it feel? Was it a sharp jolt, more of a rolling?
To me, it was a rolling. It just kind of kept on rolling, you know. I'm used to earthquakes. I've lived in California all my life, and we get small ones here quite often. But this one was a little stronger than we've had in a while.
Yeah, 4.2. It's as like I was saying to Melissa earlier. It got your attention.
Yeah, it did, but it didn't bother me.
That's
I'm kind
good.
of used to them.
And anything fall, anything come off the wall, anything like that at a 4.2? It could.
Nothing did, but I think if it had gone just a little bit longer, it might have. You know, it was kind of the walls. I just noticed them kind of moving. So I think maybe a possibility. I don't have a lot on my walls, but my TV could have fallen or something.
Not
But it
looking.
didn't.
You're not noticing any cracks or anything in the sheetrock or.
No,
No,
I'm
that's
in
good.
a fairly new building that was built to high earthquake standards, and from what I've been told, it is built to roll, like it's built on rollers or something. It's a 3-story building, so I didn't notice anything like that.
Those new building codes paying off.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, seems like.
I was in on Russian Hill in San Francisco for the 1989 earthquake, so that was a whole different experience.
Well, I was going to say there couldn't have been much in your life that's been stronger than that one that you felt, the Loma Prieta
No,
quake.
there hasn't. There hasn't.
Well, glad you're safe. And your neighbors, have you been able to talk to any of them?
No, I
yet?
haven't. Not yet.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't even feel it, so I don't know.
Depends on what you're doing at the time, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, Sarah. Well, Sarah in Fremont, thank you so much. We appreciate it. The perspective of what she felt and how it felt when she was living in San Francisco on Russian Hill back during the Loma Prieta quake. Well, we have a picture. We've launched Chopper 5 to get up over the area as it's headed towards the Black Hawk and Livermore area. Which is where this earthquake was centered. It's been downgraded now just a bit to a 4.2, still a moderate quake for the East Bay, but it was felt as far away as downtown San Francisco and Menlo Park. As I say, that's where the USGS is located, and we will be hearing from them, of course, to describe what fault this is on and what type of a fault that is, whether it's a strike slip fault, as we saw in Southern California, where we had the much stronger quakes in the 6 and the 7.1 region. But again, this 4.2 hitting in the East Bay near Black Hawk, felt in Livermore, of course, and Pleasant Hill and Fremont. And we do have someone from the USGS with us. Can you hear me? We'll try and get that phone line hooked up here. But as I said, USGS located in Menlo Park, and we're hoping to hook up with them and get a description of what exactly they know at this point. They had registered at 4.4, now it's a 4.2. And let's go back to the phone line now and see if, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. And again, I'm sorry, your name?
Ole Carven.
And your position there at the USGS?
I'm a geophysicist in the Earthquake Science Center.
Oh, fantastic. And so what can you tell us about this quake, this fault? What happened? How strong?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, it's a 4.2. It was initially 4.4. Once it was reviewed, it was downgraded slightly. It happened on the Greenville Fault. It's a right lateral strike slip fault, much like all the other San Francisco Bay Area faults. This area is no stranger to that type of magnitude of faults. There's also already been one small aftershock of 1.2, I believe. So we're keeping an eye on this, and we'll update as we get more information.
Well, Ole, what we saw in Southern California on the 4th of July when we had the 6.4, and they thought that was at first the big quake, then it turned out to be a foreshock. That also was a strike slip fault, what you're saying, and I remember. Is there any way to know whether this is a foreshock to something?
There unfortunately is no certainty whether this is a foreshock or whether this was the biggest event. The general rule of thumb for all of California faults is that there's about a 1 in 20 chance that there will be a larger event after. The July 4th event was one of those 20, was this 1 of 20 chance that happened. So about a 5% chance of a larger event happening, but we can't tell with any certainty whether anything bigger is going to come.
Well, and of course, you mentioned the fault name, the Greenville Fault?
Yes.
And you said it's no stranger to these, but it's not one of the more widely known faults here in Northern California.
Yeah, that's correct. It's part of the larger San Andreas system within the Bay Area. It's sort of the larger easternmost fault. Of course, the San Andreas being the main one, Hayward, Calaveras, and then to the east is the Greenville Fault. They all are roughly parallel to one another, all vertical strike-slip faults. There have been some damaging earthquakes in the area. In 1980, there were two, a 5.8 and a 5.4 earthquake in that same Livermore area. So certainly some seismic activity in the past, and we may experience a few more smaller aftershocks in the coming days.
Well, and I guess, of course, the big question that you guys will be looking at is, could this possibly load the San Andreas or the Hayward faults in any way?
There's always a chance that nearby faults are loaded by this, and activity may increase there. Oftentimes, we've seen this actually with the sequence in Southern California, that nearby faults, the Garlock Fault, have seen a little bit of offset slip, small earthquakes there. We expect something like that could happen on the nearby faults. Again, the Calaveras is the nearest one, but that we'll have to monitor more closely, and we can't make any certain forecast on what is happening with that.
So what should people take away from this? I mean, obviously, anytime we have a series or a swarm of quakes, not that this is part of a swarm, but certainly they had that in Southern California, and the word went out, okay, this is a wake-up call, and I suppose they all are, aren't they?
They sure are. I mean, the Independence Day earthquake and the one that followed about a day and a half after certainly were a very loud wake-up call for us. In the Bay Area, faults here are capable of these type of magnitudes and of significant shaking, and of course our built environment is much, much denser, so damage likely would have been much more significant. We do live in earthquake country. 4.2 is a gentle reminder, but certainly an important reminder for all of us to be prepared.
So when I first went on the air, I kind of jumped in and said a moderate quake. Would you call this moderate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The sort of magnitude 3 to 5 range is moderate. People will feel it across the Bay Area, but mostly minor shaking. Once you get above a 5, you can expect some damage in certain areas, and then we talk about sort of significant magnitudes.
I think it's all perspective. I mean, I'm born and raised in California. I experienced the Silmar quake. That was my first big one, so to speak, and then Loma Prieta. But so I think I'm kind of used to bigger quakes. I don't want to undersell this, because if somebody has just moved here recently or in the last 20 years and they haven't felt something, this would probably felt like a pretty strong quake to them.
Yes, absolutely. For the newbies, certainly this is a frightening experience, but everybody should heed this warning and make sure they're prepared and can make it through a bigger one without any major injury, damage, and so on.
Okay, Ole, thank you so much. I very much appreciate Ole with the USGS office, and he is a geophysicist giving us his expertise there. And let's go back to another phone line. Laura, are you with me?
Yes, Laura Leonard.
Hi, Laura Leonard. Thank you so much for being here with us. I know maybe your nerves are a little rattled.
They are.
Yeah. And where do you live?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said.
And you live where?
I live in Danville,
okay,
in California Chateau. It's on the other side of the freeway. It's only about 5 miles away.
Okay, so describe for us what you felt.
Well, I was just sitting quietly reading at the table, and it just shook.
And how long did it last?
It didn't last very long, and it was only just a few seconds.
So was it a rolling? Was it a kind of a, like somebody shook your chair if you were sitting there
It
reading?
was a shaking chair.
Yeah, yeah. But
and then I was like, uh-oh. This one that's happened, recently down south, and I looked up at the chandelier above me, and it was swinging, so.
I think and you've lived here for a while.
Oh, yeah, I've lived in Oakland all my life. Or,
Okay.
no, actually, the East Bay all my life, and then was born in Oakland. So I've experienced a lot of these.
And certainly Loma Prieta.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I'm just wondering if people's nerves, if we're a little more on edge given what happened the 4th and 5th of July in Southern California, the Ridgecrest area. I know I've been thinking about it a lot more and the fault lines and what could happen. You have too?
Oh, yeah.
And are you prepared? I asked one of the people we had, Melissa in Pleasant Hill, are you prepared? Do you have your kit? Are you more aware to do that?
Yeah, we've got one kit, but I was thinking about getting a few more maybe.
You know, it's not a bad idea. I mean, a couple of kits, one in the car. I've thought about that too. And these are, as Ole from the USGS said, these are all gentle reminders. 4.2,
Yep.
you know, this is a little bit of a wake-up call for the Bay Area. But you're
Yeah.
safe. You're safe now?
Oh, yeah, we're totally safe.
Okay.
No
Laura
damage.
Leonard in Danville, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and the others who we've talked to as well. But we're going to get back to our normal programming. But again, for those of you just joining us, a 4.2 quake that was centered near Black Hawk this afternoon around the 1:10, 1:05 time frame there. But the USGS describing it as a moderate earthquake. So we'll continue to follow it to tell you whether there are any aftershocks. You can follow us on KPIX.com as well as right back here for our regular newscast at 5 o'clock. You'll also find